guys, Justin at Vintage55 here. Kind of a repair DIY video. This doesn't necessarily just apply to refrigerators. I just happen to do it on inner door panels on refrigerators quite often. It works on most plastics, some metal pieces, but I wouldn't recommend that. If you can weld something, just weld it. But in plastic case, especially old plastic, it's brittle, cracked. As you can see on this inner door, pieces are gone now. They're just not there because they broke off and cracked and disappeared over time. So I need to put this fridge door back on, but if it's all cracked and broken, it's just gonna break. It won't mount right, and plus there'll be holes. So fiberglass repair. That's you can use this for strength, or you can use this for cosmetics. So for strength, it's basically like if you have a crack like this right here, and you just don't want it to get worse, you can reinforce it with fiberglass from the rear, but you can also just make stuff out of fiberglass. Obviously, fiberglass is a very multi-use medium. Lots of people do art in fiberglass, surfboards, boats, lots of stuff are made out of fiberglass. This is basically just a small scale version of that. So for places where there isn't anything there, we're actually gonna use fiberglass, make something there, and then once it's solid, I'm not gonna do a video on this, but once it's solid, you would just trim it with like a grinder or a sander, then go to the front, sand it. You can use some body filler, and then paint it so that, it's the same color as whatever's on the front. But basically you're making something that's not there, so then you gotta cosmetically match it if so desired. But as far as repairs, you can just leave it where we end this video, and then that will be a strong repair, and it won't crack anymore, as long as it's not as long as it's something you can live with visually. So the first thing, I've already kind of prepped these. First thing you want is your actual materials. Fiberglass resin. This is a fiberglass resin kit. You can get this at Home Depot, anywhere. It's a real good DIY one. I don't use enough of it that I buy gallons of this stuff. I usually just have one of these around. And this comes with a little lid that has hardener catalyst in it. One of these little guys. And then you're gonna need a cup, mixing cup. I like to use just these chip brushes so I can throw them away. Once you're done with this stuff, it does actually heat up as it's curing. So wherever you're doing it, make sure it's not a place where you're gonna light something on fire. Don't do this on top of a wool cloth or in a very small area. And then also your mixing cup, your supplies, once you're done, I always leave these sitting on cement so that they can't light on fire. And once it's cured, once it's dry, then you're fine. Same thing with like linseed oil and different stains for woods. Just have a designated area for safe stuff, or a steel trash can. And then your actual fiberglass cloth. So this is fiberglass mat. It's basically like a woven fabric. There's also something called fiberglass cloth, which is more what you think of fiberglass, with strands kind of going every direction. They're for different things. That's stronger. A mat is more flexible. I tend to use this more often. So just get some scissors and you just cut to whatever size you're looking for. I have all my pieces already custom fit to the most part. And you want to go bigger than it. So don't just go right up to the line. You usually want to go at least an inch over whatever your line is. And the first thing is to make it rough. So if it's plastic, it's going to be smooth generally. If you put fiberglass resin on something smooth, it'll stick, but then once it bends, it'll crack off. So I usually just use 220 sandpaper. You want to scuff everything that you're going to put resin on real good, and then clean it. So just get in there and kind of scuff everything around, and then dust it off, because it won't stick to dust either. And then once you get that prepped, I will usually put, you see all this tape on here, I'll use painter's tape on the opposite side, and that just prevents it from leaking through. So if I have a crack, I obviously don't want to pour resin on the crack and then all the resin just goes through onto the ground and then it's not fixed. So I put tape on the back, and painter's tape specifically, so because it releases pretty easily from the resin once it's dry. And then the resin, once you pour it, won't just go through onto the floor. You want to make sure it will stay where you want it to stay until it cures, because it will be a liquid state. So once you get all your stuff ready and prepped and where you're at, I would use gloves. I forgot to get mine. Just wash it off afterward, it's fine. So on this specific one, read your instructions on whatever brand you get, but this one kind of walks through all that stuff that I already just mentioned. Mix in small amounts. Working life is approximately 8 to 12 minutes at 75 degrees. You want to have a good temperature. If it's too cold, it's too hot, it won't ever cure and you'll have a big mess on your hands. So I like to be in a climate controlled area. It usually, it's not like hard and fast, like if it's 76 degrees, it's not going to mess up, but just be aware of that. And you want to just move quickly. It's kind of like Bondo or any of those types of things where it will start to cure and it will get harder to work with. So get everything ready. I like to lay out everything where it's going to be and have it all ready to go. And with this one, hold on. Let's see the mix rate on this. For a 1/4 can of resin, use a 1/4 tube of hardener. For small batches, mix 1 ounce of resin with 10 drops of hardener. So basically, you just go by that. I've done this enough now that I always just eyeball it. But you take your mixing cup, you pour in your stuff. Do not use waxed cups, like Dixie cups. If you do that, you will mess things up. The wax will get in there. It'll also eat through it. That's my unopened one. And the key to this is you got to get it mixed well. If you don't, you'll have areas that do not cure. You'll have sticky areas and then hard areas. And if you get to that point, I had success one time doing that, and basically you just got to kind of take it off and start over, but it's really hard. But I did do another coat of resin with extra hardener in it, and just coated the old resin, and it absorbed into it enough that it cured. But that won't work for thick coats. So once you get it all mixed, you get whatever areas that you're doing, you brush on a coat, and make it sticky, and then you're just going to put that down wherever you're at. And then what you're going to do is just add all into that so that it soaks into that fabric, and you're going to press down into all the cracks as much as you can. And then if you want it stronger than one coat, you just keep adding more layers to it, and you basically just cross them different angles. And same thing, you squish it all in there, get it down as tight as possible. And then if it's something really important, you can just literally pour this on there and just kind of pool it up on there, and it makes it nice and hard. So that is how you do a fiberglass repair. And then you just basically leave it on there for a day until it cures. I usually leave it for 2 just to make sure. And you can double that up later if you want to scuff it again, sand it down, add more fiberglass layers, and just repeat the process. There is a curing time though, so you don't want to do it too often, too quick. But yeah, easy enough. And then for the ones where you're actually making a piece that's missing, you want to make sure that tape is firm, so that when it's on there, it doesn't just sag down and then you get something there, but it's the wrong shape and you have to cut it off and do it all over again. So, and again, dispose of that properly. Don't let it catch on fire and burn everything down. Bye, guys.